Welcome to the Nightly News Podcast. We are joined today by two wonderful people from Career Services. During the first segment of our show, we are going to be talking to Steve Hassinger about some initiatives that the Career Services Department is running as far as giving our students some professional clothing. Later in the program, we'll be joined by Rubina Azizdin talking about a major summer event that she's been coordinating. For right now, we are joined by Career Services Director Steve Hassinger. Steve, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Paul. It's an honor to be asked to come back.
Well, an honor might be a little far-fetched, but certainly I do want to take a second to point out that Steve always has a place in the Nightly News Media Club's heart for being our very first guest when we first started this. So that was really cool. So we always remember you from back on number 1. We're also very fortunate to be joined by Nightly News Media Club President Sherry Long. Sherry, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. Always fun to be here.
You know, one thing that I continue to tell Sherry is how I'm not looking forward to the end of 2017, and I believe the last time I said that, she looked at me funny. She's like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, that's when you're going to be leaving us." So I want to try to get Sherry as involved in what we're doing with the media club and make the most of her talents for the rest of the year. So we really appreciate you coming down today, Sherry.
Thanks. And of course, Steve and the Career Services Center will be working wonderfully to help me get an outstanding job out there in the field.
Absolutely. And we know that Sherry's not going to go very far even once she graduates because she's already a member of our alumni council. So we'll look forward to continuing to see her on campus.
Well, and now she's set the bar for our quarterly publications, so we're going to have to figure out a way that she keeps doing those, whether there's needs to be some exchange of whatever it might be. We need to make sure that Sherry does those because they are an unbelievable representation of what we do at the school, and I've gotten just such tremendous feedback on that. So, all right. Well, Steve, why we're here today is we wanted to alert the students and the faculty and staff as well and talk about opportunities for both of these groups of people about something that you've been doing in the Career Services Department for quite some time. And by that I mean for as long as I can recall, in the Career Resource Center, you have had a wide variety of different professional clothing options available to our students. So basically, should a student need, maybe they have a job interview, maybe they want to go to the internship fair, maybe they have other needs, or maybe even just for professional dress for a project in class, you and your office have had many different and we talked off air, a wide variety of different ways that you've collected these new or very gently used professional clothing. I'd like you to talk a little bit, Steve, about maybe some of the processes that it took for you to establish just the amount of different types of clothing that you have.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I have to give a lot of credit to our president, Dr. Karen Scalfaro, because she has a lot of business contacts out in the community, as do we in Career Services. And about 2 years ago, she decided to do a professional clothing drive and a giveaway for students. So we were involved as part of that, and we were set up in the theater area for the professional clothing giveaway. And a lot of donations came in from business people out in the community, from networking connections, people that have hired our graduates, people who have offered internships, a lot of individuals, as well as our own faculty and staff. Many of them stepped forward and said, hey, I have this professional suit or this jacket or whatever that maybe doesn't fit anymore, or, that I haven't been using. It's still in really good shape. Would you accept that? Would you bring it in? Absolutely. So we had a professional clothing drive, and we've done one other one since that time, earlier this year, and there's still clothing left over. So some of the clothing that was left over came to us in Career Services. Some of it is in a storage facility that we have here, so that if somebody comes looking for specific sizes and we don't have them in the Career Center, we can go there and we can look and see if we would have them there. In addition to that, there's a local church here in Marysville called Bethany United Methodist Church, and they've contacted us twice in the past year and a half, I would say. And they have a program called the Caring Closet, which is open to the public once a month for anyone to come in. And they have clothing. They also have household items, small appliances, lots of different things. Anybody can donate whatever they want to the Caring Closet. But a lot of people that are coming to the Caring Closet are coming for basic needs, basic clothing that they need for everyday needs, as opposed to a suit to go to an interview or for a job or a presentation. So they had accumulated a nice amount of really nice professional clothing, and they contacted us twice, and I've gone down there and picked up donations from the Caring Closet. So there's a variety of means that we've used to collect the clothing, but we have a really good variety of clothing for both men and women at this point.
Do you have a particular size, or do you have a nice wide range of sizes for men and women?
I would say it's a pretty nice wide range of sizes, and I can tell you that we've been able to help students of a variety of sizes who have come in. For instance, back in the wintertime, the basketball team was heading to the national championship tournament, okay? And the evening before the tournament would start, there was a dinner that they were attending, and professional attire was required. So the basketball coach and athletic director sent them our way for those that were not prepared. So obviously, as you know, with basketball team, a lot of tall guys, but we were able to accommodate their needs. And as I said, if somebody comes in, we don't have the right size in the Career Center, we will then go to the storage unit and see if we can find that size there.
I think that this is so unique. I mean, let me first ask you, you do a lot of research about your colleagues at other schools. Is this something that's commonly done at other schools? Because it doesn't sound like something that I certainly, when I went to school, I had never heard of anything like this.
Yeah, it's not something that is common. There are a lot of career services centers who will talk about the importance of professional dress, who will maybe do a fashion show type of event. Sometimes they're even incorporated into new student orientation, for instance, or programs when students are getting closer to graduation. But they don't typically have a supply of clothing that is free that the student can keep. And that's one of the things that is interesting when students come in to look at the clothing and they'll say, hey, I have a class presentation or I have an interview, and we'll find something that will be a good fit for them. And when they're leaving, they'll say, okay, do I sign it out? When do I have to have it back? And we say, no, it's yours. It's yours to keep, And their eyes just kind of, get real big and like, I can keep it for free, So it really is a nice resource that we're able to offer.
One of the benefits I was thinking, job interview, presentation, a job, but we also have internships that are required, and many places require a business casual or business dress. And to be a college student and all of a sudden you're doing your 180-hour internship, to be able to have the amount of clothes and a business attire could be a little bit too expensive.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we know that it is expensive to dress that way. So being able to offer the clothing for free to our students can be a real cost saving to them and a real benefit that we can offer them.
Again, and of course I've known about this, but I've just never heard of other schools doing this. And I give you so much credit, and that's why I wanted to have you on today to talk about this. So let's talk about some of the other instances. So Sherry brought up internship. So let's say that they have to do 180 hours, and let's say they're working a few days a week. Most interns aren't necessarily working every single day, and they have to go into the office. Would there be a situation with you where they could maybe get more than one set so they'd have a variety to wear to the office place?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can mix and match so that they can be accommodated for an entire week's worth of different outfits if they want.
That's just absolutely incredible that we have this resource here on campus that certainly I know that you gave a lot of credit to Dr. Scalfaro, but just that you are also sort of overseeing as well. It blows my mind, and that's really why we wanted to have you on today and talk about this. So let's look at some of the other end of the coin. So we talked about the advantages for students and why it's so important to have such a great wardrobe, whether it is just for interviews or whether it's for an internship or even just professional projects. What about some of the people here on campus who are faculty or staff and maybe have some either relatively new or, like you said, slightly used clothing that is still in very good shape and professional? What benefits does it bring to them to share this clothing with the Career Resource Center?
Well, we love it when our faculty and staff participate and bring in that kind of clothing to add to the collection. Number one, faculty many times have students doing presentations in their classes, and those students are supposed to be dressed professionally when they're doing the presentation. So one benefit is that they're helping students to prepare for their class, for those presentations that they have to do. Another benefit just beyond that is, as Sherry said, it can be very expensive for a college student to be thinking about purchasing the kind of clothing that they might need to really make an impact and really be successful when they go to a job fair, or they go to an interview, or to their internship, or whatever the case may be. So it's just, giving back and being able to see our students who go out there and present themselves professionally at a job fair, who show up at the internship site, professional, and seeing that evaluation come back from the internship site, saying how professional, what an impact this student made, seeing them get started in their career. I mean, as a career services director who's been here almost 15 years, that's what gets my juices flowing, is when I hear somebody come back and they talk about this internship that they just got, or this great job that they just got. We have an alum who just moved to Florida. She loved her job here, but she had to move to Florida for family reasons, for a relocation, for a job, and she didn't have a job lined up down there. And we hooked her up with another alum, and within 3 weeks, she had a great job set up down there. And those kind of things, making those connections and seeing people succeed and be successful out there in their careers is the thing that really keeps us going.
I felt that exact same way recently when Leonard Chester and Jade Harper visited campus. That was one of the first times that I'd ever seen someone I had in class make that next step into doing what they strove to do or set out to do. And I was so proud to see them, and the way that they represented themselves, it was just quite unbelievable. So I absolutely appreciate your sentiments there.
Mm-hmm.
I had a question about are alumni allowed and encouraged to partake of the professional dress that's in there, or is this just for students?
Well, one of the things we always say as career services is once you graduate, you've got us with you, career services. So you can always take advantage of any services that we provide. You can always attend our events for free. And this is a service that career services provides. So absolutely. I haven't had alumni contacting me to take advantage of it at this point, but they certainly would be welcome to do so.
So not only can our present students, not only can alumni, faculty and staff also can be involved in this initiative. This initiative that you have with Career Services literally touches everyone in the Central Penn College family. And I think that not only is it preparing our students for what they are probably going to face in the workplace, but it also adds to our own self-confidence. So I talked recently, and I talk in a lot of my classes about the importance of dress, whether it's a public speaking class or whether it's just a freshman seminar class. I talked the other day recently about how professional dress builds your confidence. Can you speak a little bit to that, and maybe how dressing in a more professional fashion can really elevate somebody's confidence in themselves?
We have a saying in career services that says, don't just dress to the level of the position that you're interviewing for, dress for the position that you would like to get that would be even above that. So how would your boss dress, in that position? I know I personally, when I'm dressed professionally, I just feel a little more confident, a little more certain of myself many times. And when you get used to dressing professionally, the tie doesn't feel as uncomfortable. The heels don't feel as uncomfortable, ladies. So it's important to be able to dress the part and to have that air of confidence. Recently, we had an event on campus, an internship fair, which I think Sherry alluded to. And we had evaluations filled out by students as well as by the employers. And, one of the employers made the comment and said, well, dress was kind of all over the board. Some was real good, some wasn't so good. And one of the employers noted you could really tell who brought their A game. Okay. And I think part of that is how somebody's dressed, how somebody carries themselves, but it's the overall impression. So it's part of bringing your A game, I think.
One of the things that, and for me, now I've been doing this for quite some time now. I'll be honest with you. I never even knew how to tie a tie before I started this job. Now I can not only do it in my sleep, but I almost feel like Fridays when I'll put my nightly news polo on, I almost feel underdressed because I have become so accustomed to dressing in a specific way because I feel that in some way I'm a role model for a lot of students, and I want to show them that, hey, this is the expectation that when you're in a position like this is that comes along with it. I do appreciate the fact that we do have opportunity to wear jeans on Wednesdays and to have polos on Fridays. I love it, especially in the summertime. But again, I feel underdressed sometimes. So it is such a huge area of importance. Now, I did want to get your commentary on this, Steve. A lot of businesses are going to a more casual atmosphere. Right. Now, what is your opinion on that as a professional and as someone who's trying to prepare these students to move into this workforce?
Yeah, we see a lot of variety in businesses in terms of the way people are dressed. A lot of the businesses even that come to a career fair or come to a networking event may come in business casual or more casual clothing. However, what I always tell students is, it's a whole lot easier to take a step back than it is to take a step up. And employers tell me that when they see you at a job interview or they see you at a job fair or a networking event where businesses are going to be, they figure they're seeing your A game. That's the best they're going to get. So if you're coming to a job interview, you're coming to a job fair and, you're wearing your jeans and your sneakers, they're in their mind, they're saying, okay, this is the best I'm going to get. They're not going to say, okay, well, when they come in for an interview, it'll be different than it is at the job fair. Because if you're there because you really want a job or you want an internship or you want to make some good business connections, you're going to be dressed and ready to do that. Last year at the networking reception, which is coming up at the end of August, one of the employers sent a follow-up email to me. And this is exactly what he said in the email. I printed it off and brought it along. He said, I know I'm old school, but I thought every student would at least be dressed in, quote, business casual for a networking event with employers. So they do still, expect that.
Do you think that it's because the idea of what business casual is evolving?
I think that's it to some degree. And in the Career Center, we have some visuals that show different levels of dress that we can share with people, because sometimes when they think business casual, they think, oh, jeans and sneakers. No, that's casual. That's not business casual.
So when Kristen was on recently previewing the internship fair, she made a reference to the fact that she considered business casual sort of like what I have on today, shirt, tie, khaki pants, business shoes. Whereas I was under the impression that it's a little bit more like how you're dressed today, not necessarily with the jeans, probably right. A nicer pair of pants, but like a polo shirt like that. So maybe I'm incorrect in understanding what expectations are for a business casual type of environment.
Yeah, and I think sometimes maybe the tie might not be required, but you at least have a nice dress shirt or a nice polo shirt, as you said, or maybe a jacket, a jacket without the tie for business casual. And you can go to YouTube and you can see videos, and there are all kinds of videos out there, but there is some variety in terms of what people consider to be business casual. So one of the things I always tell students when they're talking to employers, particularly if it's going to be their internship site or they've been offered a job, is make sure that you define with that employer exactly what the requirements are, when it comes to dress and what the expectations are for the employer.
I think one thing with the, I had my internship last term and also the job pursuit seminar. Mm-hmm. And one of the things in the job pursuit seminar was a video almost like a fashion show where the person brought out a female, this is business attire, this is business casual, this is casual. And so it was, because most of the time you see business casual and you're like, well, what does that mean? I'm just guessing. And at my internship, that was on their HR report. And they went over what this meant. And when they did have dress down day, I still did the business casual, because I think too, when you go to an event or you're presenting yourself, it shows a sign of respect for the company.
To me, that's what it is. Part of the reason that I choose to maybe, and I've always dressed this way ever since I've been here, is obviously at one time we had much, for students and faculty alike, had much more strict guidelines. But the reason that I do this is because I want people to understand not only the expectations that I have for you, but the expectations that I hold to myself. I always hated when I was in college and I had professors who would lecture me about how to dress, and then I had professors that wore shorts. Even at a previous institution that I taught at, there was a gentleman in my department that wore, I'm not even joking you, khaki shorts and a Hawaiian t-shirt. But yet he was doing a public speaking class. Now, part of public speaking is educating the students on dress and how important dress is and what dress says about you. How in the world can you lecture students about the importance of dress and in turn take a very serious job and wear khaki pants and a Hawaiian shirt? I never understood that.
It's the old do as I say, not as I do. And you go by the standard do as I do.
I have never, ever really respected somebody that were like that. Yeah. And fortunately, I have a wonderful support team, and I choose to surround myself with people at the school that are like that. Unfortunately, we have a ton of them here, and I really appreciate that sort of mentality.
Well, just speaking as a student, if my professor was in shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, I would wonder about the level of my education.
Sure.
That's what I would wonder.
Yeah.
And that's a very valid point, too. Part of our job is teaching what it's like and why it's important to act professional. Professionalism is a lot more than just dress, but you can do every other part of professionalism, timeliness, politeness, all those things that go into being professional. But if you don't have the dress, you can still be considered unprofessional by many out there in the industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's more than just the clothing that you wear, as you said. It is the way you carry yourself. Is your hair a mess? Are you just disheveled looking? Is the clothing all wrinkled? Looks like you slept in it last night. So, yeah, professionalism is a lot more than that. But certainly, we can help you with the attire piece.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, Steve, I really appreciate these initiatives that you've had. You've had some wonderful opportunities to run into students and give them some excellent clothing. But the bottom line is you still got a bunch of clothing left that you're looking for homes for. So talk to us about, give us your 30-second spiel on why both students should come down and see what professional attire is available, and faculty and staff maybe considers donating some more.
Yeah. I think when students come and look at it and they see the quality of the clothing that's there, they're going to be surprised. It's not a yard sale. It is really clothing. As I said, many of it is new or very gently used. I wrote down some of the brands just going through the rack that's up there. Maybe you've heard of Evan Picone, Eddie Bauer, Hager, Coldwater Creek. These are brand name clothing, really good quality clothing. So you don't need to have an appointment necessarily. You can come anytime that the Career Center is open. You can look through the clothing. If you want to take it and try it on, obviously, you can do that. If you don't find the clothing that the sizes that you need from the clothing that's there, let us know. We're going to make a note of that. We'll set up a time to go and to check our storage area, see if we have those sizes, and we'll set up an appointment for you to come back so that you can see if we have the correct size, for you. So we're willing to do whatever we can to try to help you out. One thing that is difficult is, if it's 11:30 and you have an interview at 1 o'clock, I can't guarantee come and see us, but I can't guarantee because, who knows? I could be down at the Boyer House recording a podcast at the time. But if we're there, we're going to help you. And, if your schedule's tight, obviously set up an appointment. Contact one of us. You can contact Kristen Fike. You can contact Rubina Azizdin. Contact me, Steve Hassinger, and we'll set up an appointment and we'll make sure that we're there when you come.
And Kristen also holds the evening hours as well as part of her normal schedule. So I believe she's there till 7 or 8 o'clock each evening.
As does Rubina Azizdin. Often Rubina is there until 7:30 Mondays and even Fridays. And I'm actually surprised at how many people will come in to see her on a Friday evening, after they get off work at the end of the week. But yes, typically Kristen is there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday until 7:30. Rubina is often there Monday and Friday until 7:30. So we usually have evening hours if we're not out at a networking event trying to make contacts with employers.
Of course. Sherry, one final question for you. What is your opinion on how students can get involved, or maybe a ploy or a plea to faculty and staff to maybe share some of their gently used or new items with the Career Resource Center?
I think the main thing is just to get the word out. Social media, sharing it. Even we did an article, I believe, on the Nightly News about one of the dress where you had a networking event or something like that. And just sharing that with people to let people know that we are looking for that. Maybe they know some contacts, their church or their local community has something like that. Maybe someone's retiring and has some nice dress and was looking for a good home to have a good use for it.
I don't know any better of a use for it. I mean, so many people, like you go into I'll go into a Salvation Army or something like that, a thrift store, and you see a lot of these nice things, but a lot of that's donated. Almost all of that's donated. Maybe even for any of you out there that are maybe looking to get rid of some professional clothing, consider donating it to us here at Central Penn as well. All right. Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming down and chatting with us about some of the initiatives that you're working on with clothing our students in professional clothing. And we really just appreciate all that you do in the Career Resource Center. We are your biggest advocates sitting in this room, my friend. So we really appreciate you joining us today, Steve.
And we realize that you're one of our biggest advocates, and we appreciate everything the Nightly News does to help spread the word about career services, about the clothing, about the events that we have. We appreciate all the help that we get from you.
It's I guess, part of our job to make sure that our students are prepared for the next step, because it's not always the easiest thing in the world, but I just want everyone to know that you have support in the Career Resource Center. Also, Sherry, thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to take advantage of every time I possibly can to have you on the podcast in the next T-4 months here. So if you get me bothering you with some of these podcasts, please appease by coming down and being on, because you're fantastic.
No problem. I enjoy it. It's good practice.
All right. So for Nightly News Media Club President Sherry Long and for Career Services Director Steve Hassinger, this is Professor Paul Miller. Hang on, and we'll be right back with Rubina Azizdin to talk about our August networking reception.
My name is Tayana Butler. I'm an intern here at the Alumni Office at Central Penn College, and thank you for listening to the Nightly News Podcast.
Welcome to the Nightly News Podcast. We are so fortunate to be joined today on today's podcast. Currently, we're sitting here with Rubina Azizdin, a return guest from Career Services, and we're going to be talking about the networking event coming up on August 31st from 11 to 1. Rubina, how are you doing on this fine afternoon?
I am doing great, and I am hot.
It is a very warm day here on the campus of Central Penn College, and of course, today is the day that I decided to wear black clothing, and so that certainly does not help my situation. Now, Rubina, I wanted to talk to you about this networking event that you have coming up. So one of the things that you do here at the college is you are in charge of many of the events that you put together. Can you just tell us, and obviously this is one of the big events from Career Services, can you just tell us a little bit about the upcoming networking reception and tell us a little bit more about what students can expect if they come out?
Sure, I would love to. So this year we are calling it our lunch networking reception, and it is going to be a little bit different because we want to do a summer theme, and we're having it out on the patio. And we plan to have some music, some live music, and then we will have heavy appetizers, some mocktails, which are simulated to be real cocktails but without the alcohol. Of course, some other beverages, and we expect to have employers, community members there, staff, faculty, and students attend the event.
Well, one of the most important things that I always try to talk about, and again, we talked about this off air, I am one of the biggest advocates of career services. I will fully admit that one of the biggest issues that I had in my career is the fact that I didn't take advantage of career services. Now, I can't honestly say that and direct all of the blame to myself necessarily. I think that it was a lot because I just really didn't know that career services, I knew it was there, but I didn't really understand all of the different things that career services offers. And when I really started looking and had issues finding a job when I got out of school, somebody said to me, well, have you ever talked to your career services department at the school that you went to? And literally, as soon as I started speaking with them and touching some things up, I was employed less than a month later. And so I look back and I wonder if, I would have gotten involved with career services a little bit earlier on. Maybe my career path might have been a little bit more smooth getting to where I am today. Obviously, it all worked out for the best. But the long story short, and maybe the question that I have here is, what is it that something like this, a networking reception, what advantages do the students take away from an event like this? What can they really try to learn and to get some experience doing at the event?
Well, first of all, it's called a networking reception, and it's because they're going to be networking. That means that they're going to be building relationships with other students, other employers, community members, even meeting, greeting with faculty and staff. Sometimes we don't get the opportunity to talk to everybody that's on campus, so there might be some new faces that they might want to meet and get to know a little bit better. So I would say the biggest advantages would be networking, talking about trends in their field. You really don't know what's going on until you're actually in the field itself. So getting that firsthand, perspective on what's hot, what's new, what's up and coming, talking to employers about that kind of stuff. Building relationships, if they're interested in a field and they're not really sure if that's the route that they're going to be taking career-wise, then they can build a relationship with an employer and maybe even, ask if they can be a mentor for them. Or setting up themselves for a possible internship opportunity or a part-time job opportunity or even a shadowing experience. I mean, there's so many outcomes that we get from these events. It's kind of unpredictable. You never know which way it's going to be. You just have to have a student who has an open mind and is willing to come and seek out opportunities, not just come and say, okay, I'm going to meet like one person and walk away from here today. So there's a lot of things that could happen. Another thing that I would say would be just them feeling motivated. When you talk to somebody that's successful and they're in your field and they're working and they were kind of in the same shoes as you feel like, wow, I can do this too, or I'm going to be them, soon, or, you just feel motivated, you feel excited, and you get some ideas of where you're going to be going, get a firsthand, example of where you're going to be going, what you're going to be doing. And then another thing would be to socialize. A lot of students come into college and they've never really socialized with, at a professional level. So I would say socializing with employers and community members is a different type of or a different level of socialization. So you kind of will be able to build that, as a student, focusing more on the soft skills. Just talking to an employer requires a different skill set, the handshake, the eye contact, using the correct words. We call it code switching, where, you talk differently when you're speaking with your peers than when you are to an employer or to somebody that's going to be working with you. Those types of things I think would be great. You
mentioned something too about the internship, and I want to get to in just a minute some of the companies that are going to be at the networking reception. However, we recently had Kristen Fike on the podcast. She's obviously our internship coordinator here. One of the statements that she made that really stood out to me was that students from day one of coming to campus should always be keeping their eye on internship. Now, obviously, we do have certain requirements for students that are going on internship to have. However, there is absolutely nothing wrong with maybe if there's a company that's coming to target those people and to have an idea of who's going to be there, who the players are in the game, and to maybe put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm not ready for an internship right this second, but I might be ready for an internship in a few months. I would love to talk to you at a later date about this opportunity.
Definitely.
So that's something that I really hope that, again, not every meeting that you're going to have with a professional is going to lead to an internship, but you can never have enough great connections in your industry.
Right. And we call those influencers or influence type of relationships.
And our students can never have enough of those. We as people in our field can never have enough of those types of people. So that's part of the reason that I really am looking forward to this event specifically, and I look forward to bringing my classes.
Awesome.
Now, one of the things that I know that you talked a little bit about how and what is going to be going on at the event. Can you just walk me through, maybe because it's new, you're doing it on the patio this year, it might be a little different, but can you talk about historically how this event is set up, just so the students can get a sort of a mental picture of how this event will be set up, so when they walk in, they kind of have an idea already?
Sure. So it's not complicated at all. This is more of our less formal events than the other ones. So what basically happens is when you attend the reception, you will check in at the registration table. There's a registration process, and we can talk about that later, but there's a registration process, and there will be a name tag waiting for the student. So they will just check in, get their name tag on, and then walk into where the reception area will be. There will be heavy appetizers served with drinks, and we do that intentionally because in the real world, this is what a mix or a networking reception looks like. They're usually after work or mid-afternoon, where people, are a little bit hungry and they want to talk and they want to, network with people. So there's going to be food around them. And it's going to be up to them if they want to grab some food beforehand or if they want to go in straight away and start talking to people. We're also going to have a list of employers that are there, so they have an idea of who to expect, so they can kind of scope that out and just go around and introduce them. They'll start to introduce themselves and start making connections, and have a little bit to eat and drink and walk around.
And there certainly is an art, and I believe I talked to Steve about this for last year. There is an art to eating and drinking in a social setting like this when you're speaking to other professionals. And I think that that's part of why you do this as well, as far as having food and drink there, because there is a specific art in how to do it.
Definitely. It's definitely a process. It takes practice, too. You have to be comfortable speaking to somebody, multitasking, eating, drinking. So I agree. There is definitely an art to it.
Now, you'd mentioned when we talked previously about this that you have a spotlight speaker at this event. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that.
Yes. So this year, our Business Partner of the Year winner was New York Life. So every year, what we have is what we call our spotlight speaker. So we bring or invite our business partner winner, and they come in for about 15 minutes and they do a small presentation on their company and what they have to offer to our students and faculty and staff. So,
and I think it probably gives the event a little bit more structure too when you have a spotlight speaker like that. And not only that, for them, for New York Life, this has got to be a great honor, winning the Business Partner of the Year from Central Penn College.
Yes, they have done so much work with our college and with our department. So this is very exciting to them, and they are very motivated to come and speak and to talk to our students.
Just for those that are interested in coming to this, I was wondering, I know that we had talked about a couple of the organizations that have been there. So obviously New York Life is going to be here. Could you talk a little bit more about some of the other companies that are going to be here?
Sure. So just a quick list. We have FedEx coming. We have Santander Bank coming. We have a couple of retirement communities coming. We have Primerica, which is a financial advising institution, coming. We have Comcast. We have the Department of Corrections coming as well. So that's just to name a few. It's still early in the process, so we definitely have a whole lineup of more employers that are planning to come.
Well, just there alone, you've got some heavy hitters.
Absolutely.
I mean, those are some of the largest employers for some of those, especially in our area. And that's another thing that I talk to the students a lot about. And maybe, I know I try to, but in some of my classes, but maybe we should start integrating into our classrooms a little bit more is career research, which is obviously something that you guys in career services often push students to do. But just knowing who the players in the industry are. So when you get out of school, you're not like, okay, what do I do now? You've at least got a couple of companies you can start to research, network in some other ways. So just to know who the players in the game are in your field is so important.
I agree.
Now, I did want to point out, so obviously we're here with Rubina Azizdin today from Career Services. We're talking about the fall networking reception. It's going to happen August 31st, 2017, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's going to be at the patio of ATEC, and it's free to all of our students. We do ask that you register, and you can find out more information on this networking reception at centralpenn.edu/networking, and you can also register there as well. So I just have a couple of more questions here for you, Rubina. I was hoping that we could maybe spend the second half of this podcast talking about your best practices in a situation like this. For example, what should students bring? Obviously, you've mandated that they dress professionally. Just give us a couple, and I mean, it might be a really hot day like it is today, so sometimes that can be a little difficult. But can you just give our students maybe a checklist of some preparation materials, so if they are coming to this, they can be prepared when they walk in that door?
I would say the biggest thing to do is come prepared, be you, know your background, have an elevator speech prepared, just be able to roll out. If somebody asked you, tell me about yourself, be able to tell them who you are with, under a minute, just a brief overview of your professional background and, professional experience and educational background. So just knowing yourself, I think that's key. And then maybe even bringing a copy of your resume if you're, really job hunting, or if you're internship hunting and you really want to, get your name out there, especially if you're targeting a certain company or an employer. And also, if you have a business card, some of our students do carry business cards with them. I wouldn't hurt to bring some business cards to hand out as well.
And I know Steve has often given some either feedback or actually even helped students develop their business cards so they can hand them out to people. And I've seen that go extremely well in my experiences. So as far as dress, let's just say it's a 100-degree day and we want to dress up in that suit, but we know it's going to be outside. Can you tell us, in that specific situation, what kind of dress do you suggest in that case?
Sure. So we have it set up that, if it's going to be extremely hot, we're going to move it inside, just in case. So just so that you know that. But if it's, if it's still outside and it's a little hotter, I would say wear a nice dress shirt, something that's light in color, and a tie. You don't have to wear a suit jacket because even here at the college, during the summertime, it's not even mandated for employees to be dressed in a suit jacket. It's optional. So, just wear something that's light colored, at least with a tie. Something that I would say that you would wear to an interview. That's how I'd like to have my students remember.
Well, realistically, this might be an interview for some of our students. One final thing that I wanted to point out, and then I'll go over all the details one more time and kick it back to you for any final comments. One of the things, too, that Kristen talked about when she was on talking about the internship fair was how Career Services often has clothing available for students. So let's say there's somebody out there that's sitting there and saying, gosh, I really want to go to this, but I just don't have anything that professional to wear to this event. Can you talk to the audience a little bit about if, say, the students would want to look through the garments that you have, how would they go about starting that process?
Sure. So we have a whole rack and a whole table filled with different professional clothing. We can't guarantee that you'll find something in your size because these are things that are donated from the community in different places. So I would say just stop into the Career Services office. We're usually there from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And students are just welcome to take a look and browse through, our collection of whatever we have. And if they like it, they can take it right away. We have shoes, we have ties, we have sweaters, dresses, suits, so a whole collection of different clothing items that they can have access to.
I think that's so wonderful that you provide clothing for these events. You provide a free opportunity multiple times per term for students to get more networking experience, to get more job experience, whether it's just meeting somebody for the first time or whether it's just to practice for down the road when they go to that CPEC job fair or they go to our fall job fair. Just having that opportunity to network with these individuals, to me, is just of so much value.
Thank you.
And I very much, number one, appreciate everything that you and Steve and Kristen do for our students. And I know that our students will appreciate you down the line if they don't already appreciate you currently.
Thank you so much. And I love the fact that you said practice. I just want to also throw out there that, if there's a student who is kind of hesitant, is nervous about coming out to an event like this, because basically you are on your own when you walk in, right after you register, I am available and willing to walk with the student, introduce them to an employer, or if they want to come and see me in my office, I've done some coaching sessions with students. If faculty and staff would like to invite us to their classroom just to talk, and I know you've done that, Paul, but you have been very supportive in the past of your students to attend events like this. So, we would be willing to come into your classroom, speak to the students about the process, even show them a video of what it would look like, what the event would look like, and again, do personal coaching sessions with them and help them, at the event itself.
I just think it's so wonderful what you do and how you try to get our students to come out and really get them out of their comfort zone. Because at the first time that you've ever been in a professional setting is when you're going in for your first interview, you've already kind of lost, right, unless you have other experiences that are going to help you. This is the way I look at it. What do you have to lose?
Exactly.
What do you have to lose? If you come in there, even if it doesn't go as well as you hoped, even if maybe you're stumbling over your words or you're still working on your elevator speech, that's practice. And as the old cliche goes, practice makes perfect. I get a lot of people, oh, you're such a wonderful speaker. It must just be natural. I'll tell you, I when I was in college, I was a horrific speaker. And I just got to the point where I said, this is something that I want to do and I feel strongly about. I'm going to do anything I can to get better. And if our students are looking for better ways, they want to network and build their network, build their LinkedIn profile, this is a perfect way to do so.
Absolutely.
Quick recap. We're talking today with Rubina Azizdin. And Rubina, thank you for coming by today.
Thank you for having me.
On our fall networking reception, it's going to happen Thursday, August 31st, 2017, from 11 to 1 a.m. It's going to be at the ATEC patio. Of course, heat and weather permitting, of course. It's free to students and alumni. So even if you're an alumni member out there that would like to get in front of some of these companies and see and speak with some of the people from these companies, you're welcome to. We do ask that you register at centralpenn.edu/networking, and professional attire is mandated, but you can come out for free and get some appetizers and some beverages and get a chance to practice your networking skills with people from some major companies that serve a lot of our students in the Central Pennsylvania area. So, Rubina, as always, thank you so very much for your time.
The pleasure is all mine.
And we look forward to having you back to talk about the fall job fair that'll be coming up in the fall term.
I look forward to it.